Face.
I know. That happened to me the last time I logged in. And I like had to hurry up and put my hands over the screen. I know,
All right.
Let's call this meeting to order, please. Right out of the gate, I will apologize. We have issues with Zoom. There'll be audio only, and we'll just have to deal with it for tonight's meeting. Sam, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Cleveland. Present. Councilman Saxonheimer. Here. Councilwoman Smith. Councilman Evans.
Present.
Councilman Hong.
Here.
Councilman Nelson.
Present.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've been asked by a member of the council to remind us while we're here. So I'll repeat the mission and vision statement that we voted on and passed some weeks ago. The mission of the city of Normandy is to provide a high level of public service and grow the community through transparent, accountable, and professional governance. Our vision will be a safe and family-friendly community that is the historic heart of St. Louis County, with a business corridor that attracts visitors from the entire region. At this time, we offer the citizens an opportunity to make any comments or concerns you might have.
Siri Gannon, 7620 says, thank you for turning on the fountain.
You're welcome.
Really, thank you. Jen Village. Oh my gosh. Did that make a difference or what? Thank you, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so now here's my comment. So, Santa, is it Santa Monica, San Diego? Over there, behind Pasadena Park, where the city of Normandy paid really big money to put in a retaining wall.
Yeah.
And it looked really good at one time.
It's a lot of weeds now.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, we really did Pasadena Park a really big favor when we shored up all their backyards so
Yes,
they
we
weren't
did.
falling into the street. So I don't know if we could contact Pasadena Park, get the residents out there to maybe work with us to clean up their yards and their weeds and, I mean, because otherwise, all those trees that are growing in there are gonna ruin that wall that we spent a whole lot of money on.
Yeah, and this has been going back and forth with them. They
Yeah,
don't
you
do
know,
anything.
Or
So
we
we
should
put the
just
wall up.
do it or something, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it was a
Wish we
lot of
could-
money and it,
Wish we can take it back.
right. And that was my only comment, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Kimberly Moore, 7832 Skyview, Ward 2. Hello,
Hey.
Council.
Hey.
Hey. Wanted to make a few general comments. Is there any way that we can hold businesses in Normandy accountable for the maintenance of their property? Just really rough. Off of Bermuda Road, there is an elderly home, can't quite think of the name. They're slow at cutting their grass, and when they do cut it, they leave the edges. The edges, if you drove by now, are about 3.5 feet, and it looks ungodly. And it's right off of the highway. To piggyback that, there's been a big situation going on nationwide, not just in Normandy or in St. Louis, about TikTok shenanigans with cars and Kias and Hondas being stolen. That's also been the same in reference to stealing highway signs. So I don't know if people have noticed, but in particular off of Bermuda, a lot of the signs have been knocked down, attempted again, knocked down, and then they're missing. And the problem is, one of the largest ones was a one-way. I know I called and emailed about that and that was taken care of, but there's still other signs where you can't tell where to get on and off the highway. And I would just implore everyone that's on the council, that's in this room. Previous months when we had issues, Ward 2, I can speak for myself. Ward 2, I stood outside in the heat fighting for people in Ward 4, fighting for people in Ward 3. We cannot spend all of our time, money, and energy and resources just making Natural Bridge look good. What I really don't want to happen is that Natural Bridge, that little strip, turns into St. Louis's Washington. And we all know what happened with that. They spent all the money on Washington. It looked great. And the rest of the city went to hell. So I'm just saying in reference to if we have council members, I don't know what highway y'all get on, but if you're getting on the highway closest to your home, you should be one of the first people to see we've got signs down. There's trash. Up and down Bermuda Road, there used to be trash cans. They're gone now. So now people are just throwing trash and it looks abhorrent. And I know we have a festival or a golf tournament coming in October, but Bermuda Road looks ungodly. And then on top of that, the St. Louis City issues, people are dumping off of the highway. So if you ever get on and off the highway, this isn't random trash, like a piece here and there. It's totally scoured and littered. So I would just implore everyone, if we still have public work associates and they're not picking up trash, can they maybe once a week? If they have to give extra love from here down to the fountain on Natural Bridge, I understand that. But once a month, someone should be getting around and taking care of the whole city. I've personally tried to do it and almost been hit twice. I can't be the only one that cares, and I refuse to continue to keep sending emails and making phone calls. It feels like a lot of us got used to get the old crew out, and now that everybody is comfortable, we're not hearing anything back. And I just hope that's not the case, and if it is the case, that there's some corrective actions made. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chuck Rosso, 7216 Norman Place. Just as a follow-up, ma'am, to your comment, I know like on the state roads, you can get on the MoDOT website and there's a place there where you can basically like request services. So if you see something that's like on a state road or like the interstate, ramps going on and off, I put in a request if they could do a street sweeper like down Lucas and Hunt, just because those, if anyone's driven that way by Natural Bridge, you know those turn lanes are just covered with litter. So the more people that send in requests, they'll get the idea, oh my gosh, there's a lot of need here. They might send something sooner. Thank you.
Thank you.
You just made me remember something really quick. Sorry. This will be really quick. Again, Kimberly Moore, 7832 Skyview. Not this last administration, but the one before when Green was in office and years back, I grew up here. We used to have maybe sweet streeping like twice a year, like after the fall, before the summer, and after that. And we haven't had it, and this is not a this administration thing, but for quite some time. Is there any way we can get that back? Because especially in my subdivision, when they redid the streets back years ago, Green didn't have them do regular asphalt. They did like a mixture. And over the time, because there hasn't been any upkeep, there's loads, like all that rock is washed away. So there's like 3 layers of street under there. And the curb and the streets don't match. And it's and since we don't get sweet streeting, it just continues to build. It's all loose rock, the whole street. Also on top of that, before this administration, before the last one, we had lots of signs missing in my subdivision. I've emailed and called about that. There's got to be some sort of hazard that street signs are missing. So I don't know how expensive those are, but I'd be willing to email people about that. But if we can get some street signs, or just if our board members are more proactive in reference to that, those small things would make a difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
Check on mine.
I'm Malik. I am from 7711 Circle Drive. My main concern is about just the walkability of the area. Like I live, like where I live, since I work at UMSL, I have to walk around to Florissant Road, and there's like a wide shoulder. But then once you go under the actual bridge, it's like gets super thin.
It's extremely dangerous.
Right. Yeah. It's not really safe. So I'm wondering, like, is there any way to get involved in addressing like making the city more, walker friendly and not just car centric, so that people like me who relies on public transportation or walking to get to places can actually get to places without getting hit. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheryl Blackburn, 7617 Augusta. Over on
on Marietta, right behind my house, there's this pile of logs that have been sitting between Tracy's and the old man's house. And it's been sitting there for 3 years now, and it's so overgrown. Everybody just thinks it's bushes now, and it's not. It's a pile of logs overgrown with weeds that Normandy never cleaned up. And I wanted to see if Normandy can take care of that.
Thank you. All right, moving on.
Wait, there's one more coming.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is my first time to this meeting. Been a resident since 1990, Castle Park Apartments. Was in 252, now I'm in 208. I've been there about 12 years now. I come from the South, although I was born in the North in Connecticut. I'm a missionary kid. Lived in South America, speak Spanish. I've been in touch with Ms. Rosso and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Harris about the driveway leading to Castle Park, coming from St. Charles Rock Road and Salerno heading north. I'm not sure it's public, but I do think it could be private. So it could be someone else's responsibility, but I thought I'd bring up this issue with you all. So you would be aware that the driveway leading to Castle Park, it's not really 21st century. Is that what we are? 21st century. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And, you know, I heard someone saying something about the previous administration. Well, I've been here since then, and so I know that it's been here longer than Mr. Beckman's been the mayor, but it's something that needs to be looked at. And I encourage all of you to come by and see the castle from time to time. For me, it's home. It was an asylum built in 1893, and it's still an asylum in my mind. And I mean that sincerely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for making this an audience for me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
What's your name, sir?
I'm James Pace, apartment 208, 63133-1800, 1600 Castle Park Drive. I'm here on my own. Management could have come with me. I didn't contact them that I was going to be making waves or asking questions or asking for a recommendation on what to do about the driveway, but I think someone may have taken a picture or two of it by now. So I leave it with Ms. Campbell and Ms. Rosso. I'm a voter. I voted many times, and this is the first time I faced the people I voted for. So have a good.
Thank you, sir.
Check for online comment.
Any comments from our online forum?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Tori.
So,
Is there something?
No, they
Okay.
confirmed they can hear.
okay, moving on. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? That's the August 2 City Council minutes, the August 11 CDBG hearing minutes, and the August 11 special use permit minutes. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
So wait, all.
All right, we've got a motion and a
three
second. Any conversation?
So, well, on the August 2nd City Council meeting minutes,
Yes.
it's better. I would have liked to have seen a bit more detail in the Public Works Director for, it just lists a couple and then it says various other things. The resident's going to be reading that, what is various other things? And I just can't imagine that the city treasurer couldn't do a summary of the finals, the monthly meetings, just to give the reader, the resident, an indication from month to month, you know, what's going on. And I mean, you could raise the question, well, nobody's going to be reading that. That's not the point. The point is our, you know, it's our transparency. It's our record of making it available to people. So I just, the other two, August 11th, the public hearings are fine, but I just can't feel comfortable in passing the August 2nd meeting minutes.
Thank you. Anyone else? We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. No.
Thank you. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We have two, well, that was also, I misspoke. On the consent agenda was approval of the liquor license for UMSL 2 Hill and the Millennium Center. So unless I hear an objection and someone was not aware that that was part of the consent agenda, I'll move forward. Next item on the agenda, consideration of a zoning variance. I'm going to strike that from the agenda at the recommendation of our city attorney. There's a there's a zoning variance that came very late in your package, and you might have only gotten it today. At the advice of Andy Brinkman, we're going to strike that from the agenda. There's a notice requirement written into the ordinance that we weren't able to comply with. We were hoping this was generated from complaints from citizens about a dumpster that's sitting almost on St. Anne's Lane, and it's got to be addressed. And no matter where he puts this dumpster, it's going to be in violation of an ordinance. So Rick created a solution that's, I think everybody's going to be fine with when they read that package. But we'll bring this up at the next meeting so we can notify the immediate, the surrounding residents that we're considering a variance to our ordinance.
This says Florissant Road and you're saying St. Anne's Lane?
It's at the intersection of both, which is part of the problem.
Got it.
Okay,
Does that include the dumps on Skyview also?
that was addressed. It's going to be moved.
Oh,
Okay,
I
it's gonna
see.
be
what-
moved.
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Bear with me for just a minute. Report of officers. I want to touch really briefly on some of the citizens' comments. The road to Castle Park. We've had a conversation. It is, we believe that, yes, that is the city of Normandy responsible for that maintenance. Business code compliance. They're under the same guidelines that any resident in the city is under. Yes, they can be, those codes can be enforced. And the street signs at Natural Bridge that have been run over. And it's really bad at Florissant and Bermuda. I will tell you at Florissant, Bermuda, Saturday mornings, my street, pick up the street signs that people ran over morning. I've done this at least a dozen times. I've done it twice at Bermuda and the interstate, put them in the back of my truck, take them down to Public Works. I can clean up the mess, but I can't put the signs back up. That's a federal highway. Natural Bridge is state highway. All I can do is get on the phone and request, and the pace at which those signs are replaced, I really have no control over. All right, moving on.
What did you say after Castle Point before signs?
Oh, the fact that these signs are getting run over and they're creating a driving hazard. One way or do not enter signs, all kinds of signs that are getting run over.
So you're saying some are federal and some are. State?
Yeah, the interstate is, that's either, that's MoDOT. I mean, it's a federal highway, but it's MoDOT, and I can't make them put their signs up at my pace. And the other is Natural Bridge, that's state also. And there's been so many signs run over, like I say, at least a half a dozen times I've thrown these monster signs. They're bigger than you think when you pick them up and throw them in the back of a truck. They're big and they're heavy.
Oh, yeah, they're big time.
Have you conferred with Andy in regards to what legal, since it's hazardous, it's unsafe?
Well, like I say, I can call the state and say, we're missing signs at this location, but they work at their pace. They don't work at my pace. So.
Can we send a legal letter saying?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to fine MoDOT for being
No.
in compliance?
Yeah.
Just a
I wish.
thought.
That would be nice.
APGA, first year at Glen Echo. It's the Advocates Professional Golf Association. Their mission is to prepare, and I quote, to prepare African-American and other underrepresented golfers to compete and win at the highest level of professional golf. They're having a golf tournament September 8th and September 9, 36-hole tournament at Glen Echo. Admission is free. That golf tournament is being supported by the Ascension Charity Classic that came to North County last year, and they're back again this year at Norwood Hills Country Club. The money that they raise, they've got a whole host of corporate sponsors. The money they raise funds a lot of the charities that people in the North County community use. They're going to be there from September 8th through 11th. Some big names there. Ernie Els, Bernard Langer, Steve Stricker. If you follow golf, these guys have been around a while, and it's going to be fun. Now, vividseats.com. You can buy tickets, $40 the first couple days, about $60 depending on where you want to sit. But again, this is a really good event for raising money for charities in the area. Last but not least, I'm very, very happy to announce that U.S. Federal Properties was awarded the contract to build the USDA lab next door. That's going to be big for us. Yeah, we're going to have 80 to 100 people that are going to want to have a place to eat lunch, and hopefully we'll get a couple of nice restaurants pop up around. Yep, and a new building. Now, Terry mentioned the Value Village. I really want to thank Fine Arts Director at Normandy School District, Suzanne Palmer, and one of her art teachers, Teresa Hopkins. I made a call on Thursday, and by the next Thursday, that was done. They just jumped all over it, and they were thanking me for the nice canvas that I provided them to paint on. And I said, no, we thank you very much, and they were really great to work with. That's all I have. Does anybody on the council have a report to give?
Yes, in regards to citizens' comments in previous meetings as well as in today's meetings about the danger and walkability of Florissant Road, I have also received concerns and reports from residents within Ward 3 of the walkability of Florissant Road, most especially between University Boulevard, right at the base of the Metrolink station, and up through St. Anne's Lane, also known as Bermuda Road. I know from personal experience, having taken the Metrolink every day to work, that when it's wet or snowy or icy, that underpass, especially under that trail bridge, is more than treacherous. It is outright lethal, because if you're not able to have solid footing, you will get run over by an inattentive driver who is on their cell phone and drifting into the shoulder. I would encourage everybody to write a letter if you need help with that, writing a preform letter to MoDOT, to anyone who will listen, so that we can get something done to make that safer. I walk my daughter to school every day along Florissant Road, except when I have major back pain. So I'm sorry, we can't allow for comments from.
No, it's out of order now. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, on Normandy Place, I don't see Mr.
Yolanda,
He's sick. He gave a last minute announcement that he won't be here today.
speaking to this.
Oh, I don't,
If
what's his name? I forgot.
Chris Harris.
Mr. Harris. So on Normandy Place, a few of citizens have mentioned, and Chief talked about this before when he came and visited our street, that people go the wrong way, and people were requesting if they could possibly have a red do not enter sign when you go the wrong way, because the white sign is not being adhered to, and everything. People are going the wrong way on the circle, and we have kids that are out there playing and stuff. The speeding is one thing, but going the wrong way on the circle is another thing. The other thing is too, we have an unusual amount in the last of stray dogs that are out, and some of them are coming from Glen Echo, from fences that are not fixed, and some of them are just people who don't put leashes on their dogs and like to let them come out in the front yard. And so if I talked to Mr. The code enforcement,
Sampson.
Mr. Sampson about it, but he said it was more of a police issue.
We were discussing that with
yeah,
Andy, and he's
but
gonna
it's
make it.
it's becoming a real problem, like a lot of dogs that people are just like the park is not your dog's poop area, and they just like let the dog.
Well, and huge
Right.
dogs, not leash.
Yeah.
And
So
not
some
known
big,
by-
some little, people let them out or whatever. So if we could have the police come around and like issue citations or whatever, that would be.
Thank you.
So continuing with Ward 4, the, I just request, just a concentration on figuring out about the driveway at Castle Park. It's been ongoing, could lead to some liability issues if it keeps deteriorating. So I would just like to encourage that focus in that project. I've attended a couple of housing, beyond housing meetings, and one was the public policy, and we're going through how to inform people about the new voting regulations. That's a pretty serious kind of bring in and limited voting possibilities. So that was a main issue on the public policy environmental. There's a couple of things going on. If you want a free treat, and go to 241.com/trees, and someone will come out, assess your property, suggest some trees, and help you take care of it. It's through Beyond Housing. A Red Circle is hosting a brunch at the Garden, September 17th. You could Google their name, A Red Circle. This is a fundraiser to eventually get a grocery store locally. And Pine Lawn is having an electric recycling on October 15th. Free, and it's free to turn in old TVs. It's free. Old TVs are usually $25 to $35. And that's, that's a nice thing. The Page Dale's Festival is this coming weekend. Pine Lawn does shredding, and there'll be more information about that. But if you want to call Pine Lawn, you could do that. There's a conference in October 12th, Build My Future at Florissant Valley, where people will have the opportunity to take classes in regards to the construction industry. It's from 9 to 2 at Florissant Valley in Ferguson. So those are just some events going on that people might be interested in.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rick Nelson, Third Ward City Council. Mr. Malik, just want to address that situation you had. You know, when you leave Circle Drive, if you go up Rosedale into where the softball area is, where they play softball, there's a walk over there going into UMSA. Are you familiar with that? Yeah, what keeps you off the street. Is that walkover still there, guys?
It's still there, but that's quite a bit out of the ways for someone to
out of the
travel
ways for
as
you?
opposed to just going,
Yeah, bridge there.
Yes, yeah, I have to go across the street.
Okay.
Which is.
That's a little, okay. I also want to piggyback after the mayor with the golf tournament. We have a local guy named Kristen Havens from Fairville Heights will be in that tournament. And we sponsored him several years ago when Lee Elder was here at Forest Park, especially when he was a younger guy. So he'll be there, and the superintendent, he just wanted me to let you guys know, the city, the board and the city, that they really appreciate us going out and getting that fountain up and having those young kids. I guess a couple of kids from Obama, a friend of mine's grandson, they came out and did all that, put the teas out there, put the images of the African-American people and everything. That was excellent the way they did that, and I just want to thank you, Mayor, for making sure that's done. Also Sam and each one of us, and they just wanted to let you guys know that they appreciate that. Okay, and that's really all I have.
All right.
That Chris isn't here, I'd ask Chris,
Yeah, I had a
is there any status on the Norwood Manor sign?
I don't know the answer to that
No
yet.
updates at this point.
Because I would have asked Chris.
I'll bring it up to him tomorrow.
You could, please.
Yeah, I need to say one other thing. Ms. Moore, you're absolutely right. We do have a couple potholes even on Natural Bridge. and around the area. And that is a state highway, and MoDOT is kind of hard with us. Now, citizens call MoDOT. We get a lot of citizens called there. They respond to citizens better than they do us. So we appreciate your concern. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Police Chief Hall.
Good evening, everyone. The Norman Police Department has done another exemplary job. They handled 733 calls in the city of Normandy. With that, we prepared 86 police reports. We had 22 arrests, 9 of them being felonies, 8 being misdemeanors, and 5 being ordinance violations. The officers have kicked it up a notch. They wrote 98 citations for the entire month. And that's also taken into account. We started taking a tally of the vehicles that I said we have a big problem with failing to yield. And so we had 36 of those. So if they would have stopped, we would have went well over 100 writing citations in the city of Normandy, hitting Bermuda, concentrating on Natural Bridge. So the guys are doing their jobs. The stray dogs issue from Glen Echo, we've been dealing with that for a while. We did actually work with the mayor, Vicky Bell over there, and there was one house that had 3 dogs that always got out. They were pit bulls. And then she ended up getting them out of there with code violations. And so we'll see what we can do with these dogs. It is a police issue. However, we got a notice in July that the dog guy, people in county were not picking up any more stray dogs. And so we haven't got a rescinding of that order. So there's nobody to call. And if our guys can't catch them, we don't have anybody to pay. And even if we do catch them, we don't have anybody to pick them up. So what we're going to try to do is check and see where those dogs are coming from, and then we will. It's not a problem to cite those, and that's the proper thing to do, to cite the owners for letting their dogs out, either let them get out of fencing or be out there without leashes.
So if there's a visual, video of the dog, do you want people to forward that to you in regards to it being loose? Like Yolanda just showed me.
I mean, it's proof that the dog got loose, yeah, and if we're gonna do that, yeah, that'd be fine. And then if we can get a hold and, tie a dog to a house, then yeah, that'd be good.
The other thing is, I know that animal control is not taking in any more animals,
Right.
but on TV, they referred people to the Animal Protection Agency in Brentwood. I never followed that up, and I don't know what they do, but
And that's it. So if you find a stray dog, you can drop the dog off. They
I'll
don't have
drop
service
it,
to come pick the dogs up.
Yeah, you have to catch the dog.
You have to catch the dog, and they'll take them from us as well. If we catch them, I don't know, a lot of my guys aren't dog catchers proficient. So, and to be honest with you, like a lot of times those dogs are, we have a lot of pits, and some of the officers, rather not approach them.
since they're not able to come out, do they have cages that they would lend to the police department? The large cages?
No, we would have to, now, there is an area where we could possibly get some cages here, but that's not something you want to do, because then we'll be housing dogs. But they'll gladly give you a cage.
You gotta feed.
But yeah, we kind of don't want to get into that business. So we have to go the route that we can and just
Through the
tie the dog
owner.
to a house and cite the person.
I get it.
And that is all I have for reporting, unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
The shooting?
No,
All right. Chris is ill this evening. Sam, he did email to Sam a report that Sam will read to you. Public Works
I'll paraphrase
report.
a little bit. So, the Downtown Natural Bridge is up and running, set to run from 6 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Sunday, with the lights set to come on at 5 p.m. They're coming on the end of mowing season, depending on how the weather looks this next month. They're preparing for fall season. They're going to be doing brush pickup and dangerous limb trimming. They will be sending the new pickup truck out soon to get it set up for snow plowing. That way we're ready for snowfall.
Hmm.
And we're also gonna be renting a dump truck for 2 weeks to help pull the leaf back around. And I'll add to that. So we're waiting on the purchase of a larger vehicle. It won't come until February, so we're gonna rent the dump truck to pull the leaf back around, which is quite large. That way everyone still gets their services.
Thank you.
One other thing, sir, how is our salt?
Salt, our salt is just fine. We put in order with the Chesterfield Salt Cooperative. And we should be receiving that fairly soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we got our order in on time and they combined, they used to do a different person to provide the salt, a different person for the delivery. They just combined it all this year, so it should be simpler than ever, so.
We'll be able to handle our salt.
Yes, and then so we put in our fall order, and then there's a winter order in January. And so if we have a busy winter on the front end, we can go ahead and order.
Did you know what happened last year, right?
We had salt last year.
Yeah, we had that we had a lot of ice that people couldn't go in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask Mr. Harris if it's possible, like with the walking, like, I know it's a MoDOT, but like, you know those concrete medians that they put up temporarily when they have construction? Like if MoDOT would put those.
Under the bridge. on
That would be, yeah, they'd have to take it down to one lane. They'd have to agree to do that, but yeah. Because we've had several people complain about the hazard that exists if you're walking on Florissant Road.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would put it there.
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to talk to them and see if there's a permanent solution. But, yeah,
Right.
pretty
Or at least at the blind
steep
spots.
grade.
Are we able to request a study as far as capacity and traffic flow, speed, having measurable data so that we can come back and say, hey, you really need to reduce Florissant down to one lane in each direction for this stretch, because there's no conceivable reason for Florissant Road within the bounds of Normandy to be 35 miles an hour when it is 25 in Ferguson, it is 30 throughout most of Cool Valley, with schools, with more lanes. They have more lanes, plus shoulders, plus sidewalks. We don't. There's no reason for Florissant Road to be 35 miles an hour.
It's a conversation we can start. As far as the traffic study, we can see if they'd be interested, if they're interested in the project. We could do one ourselves, but that would be on our dime. But yeah, it's clearly a problem, so we can start those conversations with MoDOT.
All right. Thank you. City Treasurer Charles Ellis.
Mayor, councilpersons, residents, staff, visitors, guests. Like to present the report for the month of July. As you know, we go to September 30th. So this will present 10 of 12 months of the fiscal year, for 83.3% of the fiscal year. First, we'll go over the summary of the income statement, going over the activity for the month of July. We had 385,000 in income compared to 445,000 in expenditures. That resulted in a deficit for the month of July of 60,000. Year to date, total income 3.492 million compared to total expenditures of 3.761 million. Leaves a net deficit for the year thus far for the first 10 months of 269,000. Going on to B, summary of the general fund balance. We have the general fund unrestricted cash balance as of July 31st of 1.021 million, with a general fund board designated amount of 757,000. There's also unearned revenue from the ARPA funds of 94,000. And then you have the due to, due from between the general fund and other funds. The amount due to the general fund is 286,000 compared to the amount due from the general fund, 179,000, thus resulting in a net general fund balance of $278,000. And I will note that I believe that is a further decrease from the prior month. So for section C, comparison of income through the general fund, note that there has been a total of $3.492 million earned for the first 10 months, which compares to the part in section A in comparison to the to the annual budget of $4.495 million. That results in a remaining budget of 22.3%. So again, since we were looking at 83 1/3% of the year thus far, we would ordinarily look for a percentage here of 16.7. So considering that that amount of budget remaining is above the 16.7, that means that we are not earning as much as we had budgeted to this point thus far. Finally, for the expenditures by department for the general fund, again, looking at that percentage remaining, ideally would be 16.7%. So anything above that amount for either of these departments is ideal. And you see that we only have one that is just below that amount that is positive. That's the police at 13.5. But then we also have two additional ones that are below that amount that are negative. And those are the administration and the courts. Everything else is pretty much running above 16.7, which would lend that those expenditures are below the budget amount at this point. And overall, they are also below because the overall amount is at 18.7%, which is ideal. The only other thing I'll note, going back to section C, if the income was running at 16.7, the year-to-date would be about 250,000 more than we have now, and that amount equates about to what the year-to-date net deficit is at 268. And I will open for any questions.
Thank you. I'm assuming unearned ARPA funds on item B, summary of general fund balance. Is the 94 Sam, is that the truck that hasn't been delivered yet?
I believe so.
Okay. And the net loss, when you see a $60,000 net loss, that usually there's some reason for that to show up. I know the second ARPA installment has been made in the amount of $488,000, and this is another Sam Charles question. Was any of that $488,000, which is not reflected in this report, it will be next month, was any of that budgeted for 2021? Or is that all part of the 2022-2023 budget?
So outside of the new vehicles,
Yeah.
we're not going to touch that ARPA fund. Those ARPA funds till next budget year.
Okay.
But there are the three police vehicles.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, when I see a $60,000 deficit for a month, there's usually a reason that some kind of big number like that pops up, like a big bill due or or something that,
I think it's most likely on the revenue side, because this has to deal with budgeted revenues.
okay.
So a mixture of less police contract money, less use tax money, and less court revenue.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ellis? Can I have a motion to approve the July 31, 2022 financial report?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thanks, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. All right. Moving on, Sam Johnson, City Administrator, and a report.
Yeah, I just wanted very, very briefly. I know, in citizens comment, Mrs. Moore mentioned the nursing home. We have contacted them. They're technically unincorporated. It's an unincorporated enclave, so we have no enforcement mechanism. That being said, we still show up and we try and tell them to cut the grass, but at the end of the day, we can't issue them a citation. It's kind of a weird section of Normandy. I don't know how that came to be, but they are a little unincorporated block. So, and then also there's a lot of comments about the street. In the upcoming budget, we're gonna try and pay for a street assessment, and that will basically, we'll have an outside third party come in, they'll look at all the streets, they'll tell us which ones need to be fixed first and which ones aren't doing so bad, and then we'll just work our way down the list. I'm sure Castle Park, up there on Skyview neighborhood, I understand is bad. Holborn has pretty bad right now. But just in interest of prioritizing and putting in the best, we're gonna try and get a street assessment that is right. As far as other reports for the city, we had a few people leave the city. One had to retire because of some medical reasons. The other took another job. So we're a pretty small department, so it's hitting us pretty hard, but we've got 2 new people starting on later this month, and really excited about that. Once they get in, we should be back in full swing. So that's all I have.
Sure.
We may have forgotten to ask the chief this, but Sam, we talked earlier about this. So one of the residents came to our attention saying that there's actual alcohol being served and dropped off at the bar. So
Which bar, Debbie?
the bar and grill.
Courtyard
Bar and Grill.
Okay.
And she's got the witness of a diagonal business that sees that happening. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
just reporting what I probably should have reported, but we just lost track of it. And so someone here said that they're seeing this, so.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for Sam? Moving on. Old business. Council Bill 2218, the second reading. Do I have a motion for the second reading of Council Bill 2218? A second?
Wait a minute.
This, yeah, before I read it, I want to give the motion. This is the ordinance that will change our meeting time from the first Tuesday to the second Tuesday of the month. We had a first reading last month. And for the second reading, I'll need a motion in a second.
I motion.
Yes.
6:30.
Mhm.
I motion.
We have a motion for the second reading, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill 2218, an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, changing the schedule of regular council meetings to the second Tuesday of the month. Do I have a motion to adopt Bill number 2218?
I'll make it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Bill 2218 is adopted. And as a point of conversation, when this takes place should be immediately. So our October meeting will be the second Tuesday of the month for everybody out there. And we'll post that on the website also. Okay. That was the only old business reading we have. Now we're going to new business. Council Bill 2219, first reading. An ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, dissolving the special allocation fund for the Natural Grid Road redevelopment area and terminating the designation of certain portions of the city of Normandy relating to that redevelopment area and authorizing certain actions relating thereto. What this means is that we're voting to dissolve the TIF. Any new projects had to be identified about 2 years ago, which we obviously haven't done. So anything we would try to do, and it's a shame because there's $1 million in that TIF fund. And it goes back to the taxing districts, the school district, the fire district. A couple of those taxing districts is the city of Normandy. One is the Economic Development Fund. One is the Parks Board. Those are taxing. So we will get a windfall of money from this, but it won't be the $1 million we hope to have to attract a business here. But at any rate, next month we'll be voting on this to dissolve the TIF when we have the second reading, and then Sam will take care of notifying county and doing whatever steps need to be taken to make that happen. Okay. First reading, bill number 2220. An ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, establishing a city forestry advisory committee and guidelines for the planting, removal, and maintenance of public trees. What this is commonly known as a tree city, and the financial obligation on our part is $2 per resident per year. And we already spend that taking down trees anyway. What this will do for us is make us make more grants available to us. Any conversation, concerns, questions?
In addition, so what he's talking about is becoming a member of Tree City USA, and there are basically, hold on, I'm pulling it up. There's a few different requirements. One is what he talked about is the financial obligation, which is $2 per resident, I believe. And then the other is establishing a tree board, which is kind of like the Parks Committee or Zoning Commission, and then also establishing guidelines for tree maintenance of public trees. So this ordinance establishes the tree boards and the guidelines. So this would be a board of 5 members, all appointed by the mayor, approved by the council, and they would basically do studies and help decide the fate of trees that are owned and maintained by the city. In addition to that, there's guidelines, no tree topping. You have to permit before you plant a street tree or a tree on public property, same thing for removal and just things of that nature. So.
What, do you, for the board, are there education requirements or training that people have to go through?
No, one of the things, no, not for the board. There is language in here about certified arborists, and basically there is a, forget the title here. There's a community forest manager, which by definition we have as the public works director or their appointee. And so that appointee would most likely be Doug Seeley from Beyond Housing. And just like we have the council and the city administrator, this would be the tree board and the community forest manager who would actually execute the maintenance of the trees. And we would, rely, and there's also things in this ordinance that rely on the opinion of a certified arborist. And Doug Seeley is a certified arborist. He does his work.
What about the, can you explain the term of office, section 130.220? It's like 5 people and then 3 years except for.
That's for the initial appointment.
Yeah.
And most board ordinances are written like that. you're appointing 5 people, you're appointing them in such a way where their terms come up in a way that they'll be staggered. That way you're not appointing the board every year, appointing 2 people every year.
Got it.
Yeah. So within this ordinance, will we be able to, in the budget, lean out the 20,000 so we could get the matching grant, so we can get the tree assessment started with Doug?
Yes, so the tree assessment, well, yes, this is one of the requirements to become a Tree City USA. And the Tree City USA allows you access to grant matching funds, so.
Oh, I see. We'd get the money through that grant matching fund,
Right.
through the federal government, not necessarily beyond housing grant.
I-
Or
I-
we use the federal government money. to
MDC,
grant
some of that's state MDC money. As far as which grants are available, we don't know what we don't know. We do know that when you become a member of Tree City, there's a lot more opportunity for grants. This is a cut and paste that Doug Silly provided for us. That he's used on, with several of the North County cities.
Can you explain the access 330? It's unlawful for any person to prevent, delay, or interfere with access to private property by the city. Does that mean that the city can just go on your property? Can you explain that?
Well, so.
I'm sorry, which section are you in?
330
Page
access.
19.
Thank you.
So that would be anytime the city would be involved in maintenance if it was a public tree. So if we had to cut through someone's yard to remove a street tree that's behind or between the sidewalk, but we had to set up some stuff in their yard. Obviously, we would do it in a way that would minimize impact to their property or reimburse them for anything. But that's my understanding of the section.
Yes, that is my understanding. Anytime that an administrative search warrant would be required, that would still be required. This is not like just carte blanche to enter onto private property. There's still necessity requirements, things like that. So.
All right. We'll visit this again in October.
A little bit more.
Ordinance 2221, we had a meeting probably 60 days ago discussing this issue, which is the merger of the village of Glen Echo Park and the city of Normandy. And at that time, the council was fully behind it. I was invited to attend a meeting at Glen Echo with their board. And we had a long conversation, question and answer. And they took a vote to unanimously move forward with this merger. Now, there's a lot of steps to this. Ultimately, we're looking for a vote of the general public in the April 23 election. And we have to do a lot of work between now and then. We pass an ordinance, they pass an ordinance. We have public hearings, they have public hearings. St. Louis County Boundary Commission has their own hearing. So there's a lot of steps to making this happen. And there's a lot of details that have to be ironed out. This is not committing us to any final product. What this does is start the ball rolling, is what this is about. Ordinance 2221, an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri regarding a plan for the consolidation of the village of Glen Echo Park and the city of Normandy. Any comments or concerns? Questions?
If the date wise, so if the vote is April 2023 on page 22, the effective date is October 4th, 2023. So we're gonna use all this year to do all that stuff you're talking about to get it.
It's a lot of work. There's a lot of
I believe it.
steps. And I've got to educate myself on the process. I know Vicky Valle's been through it, most of it already. And a lot of what we have to do is going to be a cut and paste from the last. Go ahead, Andy.
If I may. So under the consolidation statute, obviously the election is held at the general municipal election, which is held the second Tuesday of April. It's the Tuesday in April every year, which I believe will be, it is the first because it will be April 4th in 2023. And then the effective date of the consolidation is either the latter 6 months from the date of the election, or whatever date is provided for and agreed upon by the consolidating entities. So 6 months is the soonest that the consolidation can become effective. If the cities wanted to make it a year or year and a half, 9 months, whatever, they can do that. But presumably, both entities here want to have that effective as quickly as possible after.
So Andy, what you're saying is, if this goes through, especially if it goes in April, next year, Grand Echo could possibly at this time be part of Normandy at this time.
Not quite at this time because it's September. It has to be October 4th.
October, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. About roughly a year from now.
Yeah, roughly a year from now. Previously, we did go over this annexation, and I thought it was a great idea. It would add another 100 residents to Normandy, 4th Ward, and I think it'd be great. Vicky, she's a wonderful person, and the residents. So we do police them. We service their police department anyway. So I think it'd be a great idea. That's my opinion.
Why is there the section 3, the number of votes cast in the last municipal election? How does that tie in with this? I don't.
So sections 1, 2, 3, and 4 are required under the statute. When the statute is talking about discussing the ordinances which have to be adopted by both entities to kick this process off, these are information that is required to be in the ordinance. So it's just a statutory requirement. Presumably, to the extent that any statutes make sense, it has to do with the fact that the number of votes that has to by which the consolidation has to pass, which is a majority of all votes cast in each.
So they're just saying that this happened last time, so there needs to be still a majority this time.
It's not setting a standard that has to be met. If only, 2 people in the entire city of Normandy decide to vote on this and they both vote in favor, then it passes, right? So it's just kind of setting a benchmark for how many voters are kind of active.
Does Glen Echo vote also?
They vote on it and Normandy votes on it. Yes.
Yes.
And Andy, I understand that, and if there's any, as far as their revenue, their money that they do have, it would have to go for their city over there. It wouldn't like go into our general fund. It would go into their city needs. Is that correct? Or?
Well, and the details of the plan still have to be hammered out. So, all else being equal, once the 2 entities combine, then any money that is held in Glen Echo accounts would become part of the Normandy fund. However, the specifics of the consolidation plan might and certainly likely will provide that any existing Glen Echo funds will be spent on particular projects in that area.
Exactly.
But again, the details have not yet been worked out. We're just getting the ball rolling here.
Gotcha.
And I can tell you from a conversation with Vicky that the money they're talking about in their account is in the neighborhood of $60,000. That's their entire balance.
Yeah.
And they've got a street project that they want to complete with that.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not going to have an objection to that. And we're not talking about a lot of dollars.
No, we're not. Now,
So-
did they complete that park project over there?
I do not know that.
I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They
It's
completed
nice.
it.
All right. Another one we'll revisit at the October meeting. Council Bill 2222. This is what may be very close to a final draft. What I'd like to do is have the first reading tonight, a workshop that we will schedule for 10 days, 2 weeks down the road to iron out any issues, questions, changes to this budget, and then have a third meeting. I think it's going to take a first reading tonight. Everybody studies it. We meet for a workshop and then have once we get our ducks in a row, have a brief meeting in late September for the purpose of passing the budget only.
So is this open for discussion now?
Sure, let me have the reading. Bill 22-22, an ordinance of the city of Normandy, Missouri, adopting the fiscal year 2023 budget. Now, any questions or comments?
On August 23rd, when we had the workshop, we were merely presented the draft of the new budget with the directive to contact Sam or bring questions and concerns regarding the new budget to the September 8th scheduled budget workshop. The same current budget was sent to us and included in our packet with no consideration or changes that may have been communicated about it. I motion to table Council Bill 2222.
Okay, what, you had concerns that you communicated to Sam?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well,
So we will take in those considerations. This is just the first read. We have to have the first read now, whether we don't accept 2 readings.
well,
later on.
but it's not a final, this is not the final, and I would think the best practice would be to have a reading on the final draft. When we left that workshop, we were under the mindset that, we read it, we get communicate with your questions or concerns, and then we bring them to the September 8th meeting and continue to finalize the budget. And I don't feel comfortable doing a first reading on a draft. I think it needs to be the final budget that we do a first reading on.
Okay, there's a motion to table Bill 22-22. There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. All right, moving on. I'm looking for a resolution that I don't seem to have in my,
I think we're done.
no, we've got a resolution. Here, I found it. There's a resolution that will authorize the city of Normandy to enter into a contract with Dale Sweet from Sweet Law Office. We've asked several people, Reed Realtors highly recommended these guys. Beyond Housing highly recommended them. They're the go-to for cleaning up to quiet a title. And we've had quite an issue with trying to get this work done. So that's what this guy does. And that's who we'd like to use to clean up the title on some of these properties. With that said, the 3 properties that we did list with Mr. Reed are sold. They're under contract. They're going to be closing in between 2 and 3 weeks. So as soon as we get a couple of these cleaned up, we can give him some more. No, we could only give him 3 because we had title issues. So we don't want to get into closing and have it delayed and delayed and delayed. We want these cleaned up before people make a commitment to buy them. So yeah, there's a property of Marietta, one on, well, what were they? Colton was one, Marietta was one, and Blandford. Yeah. 3 of them sold, and we got asking price on all of them. So that was or more. Yeah, a couple of them. They yeah, I was real pleased because I was shocked at what those properties went for. So he did a good job. But we'd like to give him some more work and put some more of this money into our bank account and not have to maintain these derelict properties. But we need to get these quiet titles cleaned up, and we've been told this is the firm to use to do it. So I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion
to pass a resolution to the city of Normandy authorizing the city to engage with Dale Sweet Law Firm.
I make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
I realize Yolanda's not here, and that's okay. She went to the bathroom.
Oh,
So I don't know.
yeah, we still, it was we got a majority vote. Yeah.
She's okay.
Should be okay.
All right,
Yeah.
let me look at our agenda. All right, that takes care of the agenda items with the exception that there's another opportunity for citizens' comments. If anybody'd like to speak. All right.
We have a-
Yeah, we're gonna wait.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait because she has a motion she'd like to make.
And I'll just, while we're waiting, I'll just make a note, as far as the budget ordinance, we had a first reading. And so I'm a little confused. on
We
what
did
the
not,
motion was.
well, we don't, it was,
Because usually there's no.
there's no, usually not a motion for the first reading, but it was a motion to table. I was explaining it, but I'm not sure that I ever read it, and it was a motion to table. So
So
that's an Andy Brayman question, whether that actually happened. My understanding is we tabled the issue, which means we're gonna have to have two readings at the same meeting, or a meeting at, or a reading at the budget workshop.
or an additional meeting thereafter.
Well, we think we're gonna have to have that anyway. I anticipate two more
Yeah,
meetings.
there's 4 dates in September to have workshops.
So-
To be able to talk this through, understand the budget, give feedback and questions, get answers for our questions, and then do the readings. The workshops are open to the public.
Yeah, and so the first reading part is really just for the ordinance part of the budget. It's not committing you to anything on the budget part.
Right, I understand, yeah, but
Having-
I was explaining it, I didn't read it, there was a motion to table, the motion carried, we'll table it till the budget workshop.
And if the mayor has made, so if I can chime in, Mayor, if you, as the presiding officer, are making a determination that the reading did not occur, then.
Yeah, I did not.
But as a matter of, as practice, I mean, it is standard to, have a first reading on a budget ordinance where the budget is still being kind of worked out, although it is largely in final form. I mean, for precisely exactly the reason that Councilman Rosso just raised, like there are additional public workshops, right? This is not the only opportunity for members of the public to view this budget, but the council, obviously, if the council would like to table it and have two additional readings on the final budget, then that is what.
Well, and we can have a first reading at our workshop. And we can have a final reading at a subsequent meeting. Like I say, I anticipate a long budget workshop and then a very brief meeting following when a final draft is written, that we just have to meet, pass it, and that's.
Initially, we were supposed to have a meeting on the 8th.
I didn't remember that being the case, but I have no objection to when we have this workshop.
We have to
Yeah,
provide
it's the
notice.
8th.
What's that?
We're supposed to provide notice though, right?
but
No,
this was
48-hour notice on
This
any
was
meeting.
announced at our
Or
last
20
meeting,
Yeah.
On August 23rd, the 8th, that we were gonna meet next
And-
time.
And that's, are you good with the 8th? Is that everybody's recollection? We got the 8th marked down?
I've got,
I remember that.
And you
Okay.
may be coming late.
I have tennis matches.
Yes.
Okay.
As you-
So we're gonna meet this Thursday at what time? 6:30 again?
I'll be here, but I'll be late.
Now, the workshop that we had,
On August 23rd.
that I wasn't here, I heard through that there were the notes and everything, that there were like things that weren't put into this one. There were modifications that people like had questions about that weren't like put in. Will those be put in, or do you have to go? through
Well,
the whole
yeah,
We're talking about
I thought you guys already talked about that before, but maybe.
No, on the 23rd, we were
23rd.
presented the
I thought
budget.
people had comments.
And
about
my
some-
understanding is no comments came in from that first draft.
I
Nobody had.
emailed some comments, but I mean,
And
that
beyond
was a,
comments, I mean, we're still working on stuff on our side, like the insurance quote wasn't in when we had the August 23rd meeting. We're still waiting on our workers' comp quote. We're still going out to bid for insurance. I mean, those are big things that are gonna impact.
But
Yeah,
And some of those, you're just kind of at the mercy of these big companies to quote you, so.
we're gonna need that information
Well, we
sooner
do.
than later.
We
So
got
how
the
do we-
insurance quote. The MoPerm sent us their bill. So we've got a fixed number on that. Is there anything we lack at this point?
Health insurance is a big one, and then there's a couple things that we're ironing out in the police department as well, depending on what that looks like.
Well, yeah, that's on us though. But the health insurance quote, when will we have that?
We sent it, off, I think, 2 weeks ago. We had everyone.
So the best answer I can give you is we hope to have it. by
So we
Thursday.
definitely
Yeah,
will
so-
have it by the time we pass it.
Yeah.
So shouldn't we have that in before we just?
Well, we got to, if there's one item hanging out there,
Yeah.
we'll have a rough
But
idea of
that's
what
one
it
of
is.
the biggest items.
It is,
Yeah.
but we still have to make sure there's no other issues on this thing.
need
And
to
if we
have-
get if we get a
But this
surprise,
is a
then
pretty
we'll
big
have to,
item that we're waiting on.
yeah, if we get a surprise, we'll have to do some trimming.
Exactly.
And I've got some ideas for some trimming if that happens, but hopefully that won't happen. So, all right. 6:30, is that good?
We're not taking.
Oh, yeah.
Until the end.
Oh, yeah, I will let her. If she wants to come up to the podium.
Yes.
Come up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
We're there.
Hi, Billy Jackson. I was just wanting to know the concern about stray dogs. What are you gonna do about those?
The answer that the chief gave, the best that we can do is try to associate who owns that dog and write them a citation. If it's a dangerous dog and it's annoying someone or presents a danger, that's a 911 call and they will respond. We can't house the dogs and the county's not picking them up. We can cite the owners for letting dogs run loose. And if they're pit bull breed, that's a violation of our ordinance also. So if we know that somebody owns a pit bull and the police officers see a pit bull, then they can write a citation for that also.
Or what if it didn't happen? What if they saw the pit bull and didn't do anything about it?
Well, like I said, unless they can associate it with an owner, I will address it though. I mean, if you think that it's not being enforced or is being enforced selectively, I'll address that.
Am I supposed to say what it was or how it went or what?
No, you can wait till after the meeting and tell me though. I don't want to call out some resident right now. Yeah.
Chris Jackson, I'm sorry, are you talking about an issue that the police officer did not take action?
If my baby can get, yes.
Okay. You and I will talk.
Yep, thank you. All right. We are finished with our agenda items. You had a motion to make.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session for a personnel issue.
For a personnel issue.
And I
Is there-
second.
There's a motion to go in a closed session to discuss a personnel issue. There's a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cleveland.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon. Yes. Councilman Evans.
I guess, yeah.
Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Councilman Nelson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosso.
Yes.
Councilwoman Campbell.
Yes.
Nice have it.
I mean, it wasn't listed on.
It wasn't, but we always put on the agenda.
Yeah, I know. Normally give me a heads up.